Hello, movie lovers. Welcome to the Does It Hold Up News. I'm Adam, and I'm going to be telling you all about some news that's happening in the world of film and television, as well as what happened at the box office over this past holiday weekend. As always, we're going to start with that box office, so let's take a look at those top 10. In first place is The Equalizer 3, making $34.6 million in its first weekend in release, which is a good number for them. Mostly because it's right on par with the other two. Equalizer 1 opened up to $34 million, Equalizer 2 opened up to $36 million, and this one opens up to just under $35 million. Very, very consistent franchise, and if they continue to make more, I expect that it'll continue to open up this well. In second place is Barbie, still hanging around that top spot, with another $10.2 million. A 32% drop in its 7th week, but it has made a whopping $609 million domestically. Absolutely insane for a movie that nobody really knew about until it actually came out. They were doing marketing, nobody understood what the movie was going to be, what they could expect. So for it to do this well, a miracle. Just absolutely amazing. In third place is Blue Beetle with $7.1 million, a 41% drop in its third week, and it's only taken in $56.4 million so far in its theatrical run, which is a huge disappointment for DC. This movie is better than that total is suggesting, so if you're still on the fence about going to see it, I advise you, go check it out. This is a DC movie that might continue into the new DCU that James Gunn is creating. This might be the first entry into it, so make sure you don't miss out on that. In fourth place is Gran Turismo, the movie based on a true story, with $6.6 million, but a huge 62% drop in its second week. 62% is what we'd expect from big, high-profile superhero movies, ones that open up to $100 million. The fact that Gran Turismo only opened up to about $20 million, $21 million, and had that significant of a drop is a very telling sign of what people think of this movie, and that the marketing campaign of early access previews did not help this movie at all. I wouldn't be surprised if it drops out of the top 5 coming this next weekend. In fifth place is Oppenheimer with another $5.7 million, only a 30% drop in its 7th week, still hanging on very strong here. It has now crossed the $300 million mark, and it's made $308.8 million. In sixth place is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem with $4.6 million, a 36% drop in its 5th week, but it has crossed that $100 million mark. It is now grossed domestically $106.3 million. Congratulations, Ninja Turtles. You did it. It's actually very impressive. This is not a Turtles movie that I thought a lot of people were going to enjoy when I saw the marketing for it. Turned out to be a very good movie, and the numbers are reflecting that. In 7th place, new to the chart, is Bottoms in its 2nd week, first week in wide release. It made $3 million, which is a 561% increase over its first week in limited release. It has taken in $3.7 million so far. I'm checking it out this weekend. Might do a review for it, so stick around on the channel. Check back this weekend to see if one's going to be there. Haven't decided yet. In 8th place is Meg 2: The Trench with $2.8 million, a 41% drop in its 5th week, but it has taken in $78.3 million overall domestically. Little bit of a bummer for the studio, but not too bad. In 9th place is Strays with an estimated, it's not estimated, guys. I waited to do this one late in the day so that I could have the actual numbers, so I should probably give them to you. Strays made $2.6 million, just under, a 48% drop in its 3rd week. But what's interesting is Strays is already coming to paid video on demand, POVD, because its theatrical run isn't very good. I watched the movie, I thought it was just okay. There were a lot of parts that had good heart, good humor, but they ruined it with the over-the-top antics of the dogs and just talking about nonsense that probably didn't need to be in the movie at all. And in 10th place is Talk to Me, with another $1.7 million, a 23% drop in its 6th week. It has now taken in $44.1 million domestically, which is really good for a movie that only had a $3 million budget, but I wouldn't say it's one of the best horror movies of the year or has done the best out of all the horror movies this year. I don't know. I thought it was going to be out of the top 10 this week, but clearly it's not. It finishes at number 10. And to be honest, I think Strays falls below it this next weekend, probably keeping it in the top 10, but we'll find out next week back here on the news. Movies that fell out of the top 10 this week were Retribution and The Hill, both after just 1 week in the top 10. What do you expect? Liam Neeson action movie that nobody's wanted for probably about a decade now, and The Hill, a baseball movie that nobody had heard of until it actually hit theaters. Not surprising they fell out of the top 10 after just 1 week. Alright, let's talk some movie news, and specifically strike news, but not about the actual strike, but what the strike is doing to some of these companies. So we got the indication last week of what these strikes are actually doing to the theatrical industry. Warner Brothers, the production studio behind a lot of things, including DC movies, they released some of their earnings reports on a call they had last week with some of their investors. The full details aren't out yet about this story, but they did say they're expecting a $300 to $500 million loss this year because of the strikes. Now, that loss is going to hit their EBITDA. This one stands for Earnings Before Interest, Taxes, Depreciation, and Amortization. Basically, this means it's gonna hit their ability to actually pay back loans and what they can claim on their taxes at the end of the year. This is a big hit. They're still posting profits, mostly from Barbie, because that movie did so well, but them seeing this is $500 million hit they're going to take, and it's just because of the strikes that are currently happening. If this isn't a wake-up sign to studios to get off their asses and actually make a deal with the unions, I don't know what is. I don't know if other studios are going to actually report any income or loss based on these strikes like Warner Brothers just did, but if they do, I'm going to be very interested to follow along and see what other studios got affected and how badly. Because I think if some of those bigger studios, along with Warner Brothers like Disney or Sony, start reporting large losses, we're going to see this strike end sooner rather than later. Because right now, the WGA is going on what is going to come up as the longest strike in that union's history. In other news, we have a confirmed sequel for a movie that I don't know needs a sequel or makes sense to even get a sequel. So, writer Akiva Goldsman has confirmed that the Will Smith-led movie I Am Legend is officially getting a sequel. The script is being worked on. I'm not sure how they're going to make a sequel out of this, considering he dies at the end of the first movie. So how is he coming back for a sequel? This isn't a prequel. This is following the events of the first movie. But what we do know about this sequel, confirmed by the writer, is it's going to follow the alternate ending. If you didn't know, if you've seen I Am Legend, Will Smith sacrifices himself at the end so that others can escape. But in an alternate ending, he survives when the monsters realize that he's the legend the title of the movie is talking about. He's the ghost in the darkness for the creatures, and they save their brethren that he has kidnapped and leave, and he survives it. That's the ending this sequel's going to follow, which doesn't make any sense because that's not the ending that was shown in theaters. So who made the bright idea to put that ending out, but now to make a sequel to an ending that most of the people haven't seen? It's going to confuse a lot of people. Something else we do know about the sequel is Michael B. Jordan will be joining the cast to co-star alongside Will Smith, but we don't know as who, or what, or why. That's the amount of information we have about this sequel that is probably super unnecessary, but I'll watch it. I wasn't a big fan of I Am Legend, but I'm going to be very interested to see if this movie ends up being a complete train wreck, or if somehow they pull it off. Most of the major news coming out is all about the Venice Film Festival, which happened over last week, and the amount of movies that played, like Bradley Cooper's The Maestro, which reportedly received a 9-minute standing ovation. I'm going to tell you guys right now, film festivals are amazing. I've been to a few myself. I love it. I love the camaraderie happening there. But don't put any stock in these standing ovations that happen for these movies. You are showcasing your movie to a bunch of peers in your industry, some friends, other people who admire you, people who are there specifically because they love movies. Of course you're going to get standing ovations, especially when all the stars are standing right next to you, the directors in the room with you. You want to show your appreciation, and I just don't put stock in it. So I could tell you all about what happened at the Venice Film Festival, which ones did well, which ones didn't do well. You know, the fact that there was a picket outside against, Woody Allen and Roman Polanski because they're showing movies there and people think, they should have been canceled. We could talk all day about the Venice Film Festival. It's just not for me. I'm not going to cover it a lot. I will see what movies come out of it that are actually going to get theatrical releases that you can go see. But until that happens, it's a film festival. It happened. The people that were there liked movies, and they all went home. Breaking news. For our last story of today is Jason Blum and Blumhouse Pictures. And Taylor Swift. I know those two things don't go together, but it's very interesting. So Jason Blum announced last week that Exorcist Believer, his new movie that he produced, is actually being moved up a week from October 13th to October 6th. Why? Well, that's because of Taylor Swift. Yes, the singer who is currently on a worldwide tour that is breaking all sorts of sale records and gross records and attendance records. It is probably the biggest thing happening in music right now in 2023. And she also made an announcement that back in August, which was, oh my gosh, a week ago, she had one of her tours, one of her shows filmed. In fact, I believe it's going to be a compilation of a couple of her different tours put together. And she made it into a movie, into a theatrically released movie, so people who didn't go to her concert can see her perform on a big screen at AMC and other theaters. Well, guess what day that's coming out on? October 13th. And Jason Blum was like, I want nothing to do with that. I don't want to go up against her. She's one of the biggest stars in the world. My movie's probably going to get buried, so I might as well just move it up a week. And I think it might be the smartest decision he's ever made, and this man has made a ton of smart decisions. Because Taylor Swift's The Eras Tour, the movie, sold over $26 million worth of tickets in pre-sale, which is just astronomically large. That is larger than Spider-Man No Way Home's pre-sale tickets. Crazy. I myself just happened to look at what the seating arrangements looked like for the Eras Tour on October 13th, the day it came out, and of the 6 showings that I looked at, in each one, there was only 1 or 2 seats left available. Normally when I look for a movie, if I think it's full, there's still seats here, there, front rows, everything. Still open, but to me that seems like a full theater. Nope, not here. This is completely full theaters. Every seat is taken, except for the handicap seats, to see Taylor Swift's The Eras Tour, the movie. And Jason Blum's not the only one who moved up his movie. Meg Ryan is making her return to the rom-com genre with a movie called What Happens Later. And it also moved from October 13th to October 6th, so to not compete with Taylor Swift. How big of a star do you need to be that you aren't even part of the film industry, and yet you're making some big productions move their opening dates? I don't know, guys. Let me know in the comments below what you think about Taylor Swift putting out a movie of her tour. Is it something you would go see? Is it something that makes a lot of sense? Should more artists do this? So if you didn't get a chance to see the concert, you'll still be able to in some way? I don't know. Let me know in the comments below. And as always, we're going to finish up with some new movies that are coming theatrically or to streaming this weekend. First one to talk about is the big one, The Nun 2. This is a sequel to 2018's The Nun, which is part of the Conjuring universe. Great universe, great horror movies. This one looks scary, which is good because the first one wasn't scary. In fact, it wasn't even a good movie. But The Nun 2 has a brand new creative team, brand new writers and a brand new director. So hopefully the way of telling this story is going to come across a lot better, and they're not going to rely on cheap jump scares and cheap manipulation to actually scare the audience. Previews look pretty good. We're checking it out this Thursday, so we're going to have a review up hopefully Friday for you guys to check out in case you want to go see it this weekend. The other movie that's moving from limited release into wide release this weekend is My Big Fat Greek Wedding 3, which is going to be a hit. If you were a fan of the first 2, I'm sure you've been waiting on this movie forever, because after 7 years, we're finally getting another movie in this franchise. This time, they're taking a trip home to the motherland of Greece to honor Tula's late father, Gus. After his passing, they all want to get together, have a big family reunion, and there's no better place to do it than in Greece. But I don't know why they had to call it My Big Fat Greek Wedding 3. I understand it flows with the other two movies, but if there's not going to be a wedding in this movie, I'm not sure why they couldn't just change it to My Big Fat Greek Vacation, and people still would have understood how it flows into that franchise, into those other movies, and the story would have just made a lot more sense. I'm going to check it out. I'm a big fan of the first one. I thought My Big Fat Greek Wedding 2 was just an okay movie. I wasn't as high on it, but it was still really good, and I'm interested to follow up with these characters and see where they are today. I'm going to check this one out as soon as I get a chance. Last one I want to talk about is one coming to Amazon Prime, exclusively streaming this weekend as well. It's called Sitting in Bars with Cake. You heard that right. Sitting in Bars with Cake. It's a story of a woman who bakes cakes, then heads to local bars with the cake so that she can attract people to her table, which allows her the opportunity to make friends and possibly find a boyfriend. Creepy premise. This is supposed to be a rom-com, and looking at the trailers, I think it might play really well. It's a beautifully shot movie. It looks like they actually took their time and tried to make a good movie instead of relying on a lot of just cliches and tricks. But it's a very creepy premise to me. I don't know if I would go hang out with somebody who just randomly showed up to the bar with a cake and want to be friends with them. Unless, of course, it's like the best cake in the world, in which I'm all in then because, it's cake. Who doesn't love cake? But it's a very interesting movie. I want to watch it this weekend. I don't know if we'll have a review out for it over the weekend, but it depends on how much I like the movie. If I really enjoy it, I'll try to get something out to you guys. If I really hate it, I'll try to get something out to you guys. If it's just a middling movie and it's just meh, well, probably not going to make a review for it. All right, that's it for the news this week. I know it was real short, but like I said, most of the news is all about the Venice Film Festival, which I'm not going to cover. If you want to see that, there's tons of other channels covering it. I would hate to lose you as a viewer, but, go check that stuff out as well. In the meantime, I'll be back next week with some more news and a follow-up to this weekend's box office. Let me know in the comments below if you're going to see any of these new movies this weekend, what you thought about how the top 10 looked this week. What do you think it's going to look like this coming weekend? How well do you think Equalizer is going to hold up? Let me know all down in the comments below. And until I see you next week, remember that you're a legend, so be good to yourself, but more importantly, be kind to others. And as always, keep watching movies.